Christmas in July is just a powerful message of inspiration, of motivation, of dust yourself off and keep going and know that you're not alone and we're all in the fight together. Things are always going to get better. It's seasonal. What you're doing here is phenomenal. It's just a way to impact the world.
When you take a step and God has put this on your heart, when you take one step, He's going to be there for you for the next.
All that you do and everything that you do, not just for women, but for people in general, and just the heart that you have, I feel it's amazing.
You're here to shine light on this dark world. And truly, the brightest light is the candle in the darkness. That's where the hope is, and that's where your way out is.
I'm just offering love to people who I just want to love, because that's what the world needs as a whole, more love.
Everything you and I desire in life will come through our ability to be able to impact and communicate our message.
You know the power of story and how that can change someone's life by sharing it and or receiving it. All right, and that's what you give, an opportunity for people to share a story here with you, to impact and empower people to go live life at a different level or different way, or to go for what they believe, or to see purpose and clarity and to go do that thing in life. And I think that's huge. That's how we move forward.
Each one of us has a gift to share with the world.
Thank you for setting the platform up so that all of us can go out there and share and help and just bring 24 hours of positivity. Like, who does that?
Lean towards others, not away from them. Don't disappear. It's easy to disappear. In the middle of that, you have an opportunity to not only help yourself, but also people want to help you, but they can't read your mind. So speak up and reach out to folks that are close to you so they know how to help.
Because I think there's just not enough people pouring into the world to just have goodness out there.
We need more kindness in the world. Elena, I just want to thank you for being a champion of people at the holiday time that have experienced a loss. I truly believe in your Christmas in July event. This is why I told you I'm always going to be with you for this, because I know how impactful it can be to families that are experiencing loss, especially at the holiday time, how hard it is.
The majority of help that I received during my journey was from people I didn't even know, books that I read, videos that I saw. So this could be the answer to your prayers.
All right, so my next guest is a dear, dear friend of mine. Him and I have connected over the past couple years as well, and he has just become a gem in my life that sometimes you resonate on the same energy level. And him and I did that right off the bat, and I am honored to bring on Mr. Daryl Snow. Hello, Daryl. How are you today?
Good morning, and congratulations on this awesome start you're off to on your 24-hour Christmas in July streamathon. I saw David had his suit on, so I had to go get my Santa picture and get him up there just to kind of help out.
I love that. I'm going to pull you full screen so we can see it.
It's not visible huge, but yeah, it's
I love it. Oh, I love it. We've got the Christmas lights in there too, right? I see.
Yeah, got it all going for you.
Yay. And so where are you tuning in from?
I'm in Arizona, third rock from the sun in the heat of the moment. We are boiling here, but yeah, it doesn't feel like Christmas for sure in Arizona.
Nope. And my dad was from Phoenix, Arizona, so I know all about it. One year we did Christmas in August. We went and made a trip from Indiana to Phoenix in August, and he actually put his Christmas tree up and all of that so that we could celebrate Christmas at that time. It was crazy. So, yeah, we've got all kinds of people. So, we are here to talk hope, love, inspiration, and I know you have a message to share. So you tell me, do you want full screen and just go with it, or do you want to sit here and have a conversation about it? Because I am all about what works best for you.
Yeah, I think what I had planned and what I've seen so far, we can just go with this. We can still get the same message out. I think that your theme today, hope, helping one person every day, is very important. But I think that some people, and piggybacking off of Marilyn, resilience, we have to sometimes help ourselves. Like that one person should be you to start with, because you can't really give from an empty cup. And there are some things in our lives that we're all givers and we're all wanting to pour into others, but then we do it and we're drained and we're not any good. And at the end of the day, who's taking care of us? Well, no one, because we're too proud to ask. We're too proud to reach out and I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And suddenly you're drained and exhausted and you're not taking care of yourself. And I think that's a vital piece of information that people need to take away. They need to help themselves as much as they help everybody else,
And I love that. I mean, I love that you're coming in from this side of it. Like, because when I talk about help one person every day, how often do I actually think that one person be me?
Well, I think that, we all have scars in our life, right? Some of them are visible, some of them are hidden. I mean, I have 2 scars on my legs from when they broke my legs as a child because they were crooked. I have a scar on my neck from 2 neck fusions, right? And those are easy to see and easy to deal with, but it's our inner scars. Those are the ones that are really painful, that we don't heal from. And I distinct them, I call them scabs, because a scab will bleed all over everything, including others and yourself. A scab will hurt when you pick at it. A scab will hurt when you rub it. But a true scar, like this one on my neck, doesn't hurt, doesn't affect me, right? So we have to take those scabs and really make them true scars. But our inner side, our inside, that's where we lack the self care to actually heal from those traumas and make them scars instead of scabs.
I love that. I love that. So how do we begin? What are some things you can share to help people actually begin that process?
Well, first you have to admit that you're in pain, right? I'm sitting here today with a bout of arthritis gout in my arm, and it's very painful. But if I just go about my day and keep using my right hand, it's never going to heal. I have to admit that there's some pain and that I have to treat it. And we have to be able to go in and do our inner work. People want to shy away from their shadow work because it's hard. It's easier to wear the external mask of everything's okay, I'm fine. And a lot of times I feel that we use this external helping and external being of service to everyone else as a way to mask that internal pain. So we get that external gratitude and we get that external validation that we're not willing to give ourselves. And, you really have to be mindful that there's something there to go on. And I'll say this really early here. Last year, my daughter tried to commit suicide, and it is not the conversation or the phone call that any parent wants to get when she was admitted to the hospital. And like most parents, I went through a wide range of emotions. The first was extreme gratitude that she was still alive, but then it became anger and resentment. See, my daughter's not my biological child. I raised her from the time she was 2 years old when I married her mom, and I even gave her a name change because her biological dad wasn't willing to let me adopt her. So I just said, F you, I'm going to just do a legal name change. And even long after I divorced her mom, she's been my daughter. And so when I got this call, I took it personally. I'm like, she just shit on 23 years that I gave of my life, my sacrifice. And so I turned it around and was making it all about me instead of her. The other thing that really made me mad is that when I finally was able to talk to her and I asked her, why didn't you reach out to us when you were in such a dark place? And she said, I didn't want to hear your positivity, and I didn't want to hear that I could get through it. Now, as someone who coaches others and believes in positivity, that really set me off.
Wow.
Because I have this really big thing where I rail against toxic positivity, where everything's sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and, everything's great. To me, that's toxic positivity. But positivity to me means that there's hope. Even in your darkness, there's a way out. Even every problem has a solution. So I was preaching what I considered hope and inspiration, and she was hearing toxic positivity.
Wow.
Because I wasn't meeting her where she was. I was meeting her where I expected her to be. And that's how we go through life with a lot of people. We meet them where we expect them to be. We see their potential. We see their ability. We see all these things that they could be doing. And that's where we expect them to be. But they're still back picking at their scabs.
Wow.
They're still back bleeding on themselves. So we have to allow them to be where they are in order to help them get to where they want to go, so that death and leaving this planet isn't the only way out.
This is wow. Like we are feeling the impact through some of these comments. This is really great awareness for a lot of not only just parents with older, like children that are like older, that are struggling, and you wonder why aren't we communicating? This is like beautiful. This is why we are doing things like this. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but keep going, because this is so valuable information.
Well, I've attempted suicide several times because I didn't have hope. I thought that was my only way out. When I was younger, I found my brother who had taken some pills and some alcohol, and he wanted out. He didn't have any hope. The only thing that brought me back, one time I was trying to drive into traffic with my car, and at the last second, I had this self-consciousness that I didn't want to damage someone else's life just because my life wasn't going well. So I pulled the steering wheel back. And another time, as I was in the process, I thought of my wife, and I thought, man, she's already been through so much. I can't do this to her. And I stopped what I was doing. My hope wasn't within myself at those times. My inspiration was external, but it has to be internal. You have to find the hope, and you have to look. God touches us in many ways. Some believe in rocks and mountains, and some believe in preachers and whatever. I believe the Spirit of God whispers in our ear when we're our most quiet. And I was fortunate enough that I had people in my life. I had coaches when I went through it with my daughter. I had coaches and people in my life who could make me realize that I wasn't responsible for my daughter's actions. All I could do was meet her where she is and love her through it. And that took off a burden of guilt that I was carrying so I could be better present for her.
And so how did you start that process of truly absorbing that and believing that, because there comes that part where we tell ourselves and then we tell ourselves again and again, but how did you actually start believing and living from that moment forward?
Well, I was physically and mentally abused as a child, like a lot of people are. But like a lot of people, I said, "Hi, I can take care of you. You're never going to affect my life. I've got you under control. Just sit down and shut up." And for 58 years, I drugged that with me in everything I did, unknowingly that I wasn't recovered from that trauma. And so after these moments, I finally decided, you know what? Instead of just acknowledging you, I really had to work on you. And I had to find someone who was um, adept in trauma release and who could really touch those parts of me that were needing to be healed. And I actually had the fortune to go back last year to where I grew up. And it was supposed to be, again, here's a God moment, right? It was supposed to be a 2-month little trip. It ended up being a 9-month healing process. It became my 9-month. God used one reason to get me there, but then he allowed me to heal because I went back home and I walked the grounds of my childhood and I released all those demons and I said my forgivenesses. I went to my grandparents' grave for the first time in 40 years and I forgave them for what they did to me. I knocked on their old door, asked the new owner if I could walk through that house. And I walked through the house, and the guy must have thought I was nuts. I walked through the house just releasing all the energy and all the negativity. And I walked through the entire place just releasing all the trauma that had happened to me in that house. And I went to the church where they used to drag me as a kid. And I stood at those altars and I forgave the trauma that happened to me in those halls. And I really then forgave myself. And once I forgave myself, my relationships changed, my business changed, my life changed. But I had to really be willing to do the hard work and go inside and heal, not just acknowledge.
Wow. That's amazing. And I remember, around that time of you thinking you're going for this one thing and just being your true friend and staying connected to see you truly come forward as you has been like one of the most beautiful experiences. Ivy Perez says, wow, this is so powerful and beautiful. Thank you for sharing your healing, because ultimately it revolves around forgiveness.
It does. And it's funny because you and I are cut from a very similar cloth. And with my podcast, I've been able to interview you a couple times and know your true story, front to back. And one of the reasons we clicked is because we both went to that same event 2 years ago, not knowing anybody. And both of us, without knowing what the heck we were getting into, said yes. and we're willing to leap out in that faith and take that step. See, we don't need courage if we're not afraid of anything, and we don't need faith if we can see the entire road. So we have to step out into that faith. But forgiveness of self is the key to the start of any of your healing.
And so for people that maybe today's the day they recognize, okay, I hear Daryl talking about that person inside that he carried with him all this time growing up, and just thinking like, it's all good. And maybe today's the day they realize, like, wow, that little girl in me or that little boy in me, he's been neglected and he needs some healing. He needs to know that it's okay. What's a first thing that they can actually do? Is it just acknowledging that?
I think the first thing is actually talking to that little boy or girl inside you, saying your forgiveness, saying what you would say to any other child who was experiencing that moment, and saying it to yourself. And not just saying it just to say words, but with the deep feeling, the deep belief. I wrote my little 6-year-old boy, me, a letter. I wrote myself an apology letter. And that was very cathartic in the first step. But people want a magic bullet, and they want a pill, and they want a instant gratification. No, this is a long, hard process, and you have to be willing to sit with yourself. See, the other thing that happens that when we're bleeding all over everybody, we tell just get over it. Oh, just get over it. We need to allow people to sit with their pain and be okay. You can pause and rest, just don't camp. You're not, like you said, don't sit around that pity party campfire for too long, right? But at least acknowledge that it's there, and don't just it's okay. Now move on.
Yes, because it will. When I say sweep things under the rug, it's going to come out. Something's going to move that rug, and there it still lives. And that's why I've become one of those that appreciates the pain, and recognizes the gift in it. And ultimately, again, that's why we're here. I will say things like pain to power all the time, pain to power, but it's not to dismiss the pain. It's to actually identify that it can be there to serve us in a great capacity, and one that most people miss because they want to hide from it.
Well, Tony Robbins says, you won't change unless the pain of change is less than the pain of staying where you are. And, that's our human nature. My wife has almost died twice because of her breast implant illness. I sat at my father's deathbed writing a real estate contract because I thought that's, real estate doesn't care about time and deadlines. So, while I'm there doing that. So all of those things that I've experienced should have made me want to move forward and move my needle better, but they didn't, because those were external whys for me. And external whys will only take us so far. It has to be internal and personal for us to move and to change. And you said earlier, your pain is what's behind you, but that's your pain, not because of your kids, not because of your situation with your former husband, whatever. It's because you never want to be that again. And until we decide that we've had enough, look, and everything starts with a decision. Oh, I can hope, I can pray, I can wish, I can want, but until I decide, nothing happens.
Yes. Decide, and take action of some sort. And maybe it is just deciding. That's action, right? And then really looking at. I love, and I keep this in my head all the time, of take care of your minute. Just take care of this very minute, because that's truly all we have. And if you can take care of your minute, your hour, your day, your week, even your years will begin to take care of themselves if you just focus on this minute. So,
well, you're absolutely right, but the overwhelm that people have in their life comes because they look at everything that has to be done. Well, you can't do everything at the same time. You can only do one thing at one time. And all these people who talk about multitasking and wear it as a badge of honor, I was one of them for years. It's such BS, because we can spread ourselves so thin doing multiple things all at once that none of them get done, or none of them get done really well. But if you take that same time and energy and just focus on that one thing, It gets done quicker and off your plate. You know, act like you're going on vacation, because more crap gets done the day before vacation than any other time that you're working, right? I got to go, but you do it one thing at a time and you get it done and you knock it out and you get, but they don't have to be huge, giant leaps and chasms. Small steps make you go really far.
Yes, and I'm with you 100% on that. The multitasking, it's not, and to me that kind of ties into that need for balance that people are looking for. And to me, it doesn't exist. Like, you're looking at keeping things level. That's balance. But if something has your attention, something else doesn't. And so just accept that, focus on the one thing, take care of that, and move on to the next. And you will feel, because I think when people talk about wanting balance, they're actually seeking that sense of alignment and that harmony within. And that's completely different.
Well, we're going back to your theme. We're all looking for hope, inspiration, but mostly we're looking for peace. And everyone's looking for this easy road. Like, there's no easy road. We just have to be strong enough to handle the road we're walking. And God will only give you what you can handle. And when you can handle more, he will give you more. But here's the thing about God and this world, right? If you're just mindlessly walking through your day, it might be fairly easy because no one gives a crap. But once you start living your purpose, living what's in your heart, like you are with the Streamathon and your Christmas Widows, once you start actually living what's in your heart to do, guess what? Your road gets a little bumpier. It gets a little harder, because the other side, whether you want to believe in the other side or not, there's two sides to every coin. The other side now views you as a threat, and they have to knock you off your game, because now you're doing what is in your purpose. And where do they think that purpose came from? Came from our spirit, from God, from whoever you want to call it, right? Our God put it in our heart, and he resourced you to be able to do it really well. There's an old saying that if God gives you a Goliath, it's because he saw a David in you. Don't run from problems. Be strong enough to handle them.
That's gold right there. Don't run from problems. Be strong enough to handle them. And you're absolutely right. The more you step into the knowing that you are living your purpose and you are doing something grander than you, like you're the vessel, you're just chosen for it. It does get harder. There is more that pushes against you. That goodness doesn't want to be spread. Like there, and so that's you got to kind of focus on the things. One of the things that I read is we are no longer seeking that wisdom and that guidance. We're seeking for the result instead of asking God, please give us these things that will carry me throughout this journey.
Well, two things I want to mention real quick. First off, when you ask God, and I'm stealing this and I can't remember the author, so it's not original, but when you're asking God for a cake, he's going to hand you the IKEA version. He's going to hand you the eggs and the flour and the baking soda and the pan. He's not going to just hand you the cake, right? You can have a golden shovel, but you're not going to dig a hole unless you put a little muscle on it. So we have to do our part too. And I heard a preacher say once, everybody's asking God for stuff. Everyone's waiting on God. Everyone's waiting on God. But what if God is waiting on you? You got to do your part.
Yes, you've got to do your part. And that takes me back, and this is just like another little nugget, because I always remind myself, like, because it's not easy, because the once you take a step, you're given, there's just always more, right? There's always more. And God did his part when he created us. He gave us everything. Like, he created us in perfection and abundance, because that's how he creates. But he created us with free will, right? And so when you say that, like, he delivers the cake in all these pieces and the ingredients, but he gave us the free will. Are we going to make it? What if we make it and it's like dry? What if it tastes like crap? Are we going to try it again? Are we going to keep doing it until we perfect this recipe? And many people just wait and they keep praying for the cake. They keep praying for the cake. And he did give us that free will. And so it does tie back to the decision. Are you going to get your hands messy and try to make this beautiful thing or not? Because he's going to love you regardless.
Yeah, well, it's interesting when I was told in my God year that I was supposed to start my Warrior Spirit podcast. I didn't even own a camera or a microphone. So I'm like, what? And I fought it for 6 months. And I heard that I'm supposed to give a platform for people, for the voice for the voiceless, a place to share their to make it their message so it can become a survival guide for somebody else. And over the 2 years of doing my podcast, once I finally got tired of that spiritual 2x4 and bought a microphone and got a camera, I've had 100 and some interviews of people just sharing their inspiration and their journey and their path from where they were to where they are and the bridge that took them there. And it's been a beautiful thing because it's done exactly what God told me it was supposed to do. Give a voice to the voiceless, help them make their message. And I've seen people step out and become really beautiful things since doing that. So many of them said, well, this is the first time I've ever shared my story, or the first time that I've shared that part of my story. You said it.
Yep, that was me.
And it's a healing moment because now you're not just acknowledging that part, you're actually trying to heal from it. You're turning your scab into your scar.
Love it. And speaking of the podcast Warrior Spirit, you have a few minutes to tell people where can they tune in and listen, because yes, I went on so much. I had a 2-parter. You got to come back for part 2 to hear the rest.
I love the 2-parters because that's so much of their journey and the fact that they did it once and they're willing to do it again means that they're really, coming into what they are meant to be. I'm on YouTube at Praxis33 _ a Warrior Spirit. And I drop a new episode every Wednesday. I pre-tape them and then drop one every Wednesday. So you can find them there. There's 90 episodes now. There's 14 more for the end of the year coming. But yeah, it's a great honor to have these people come and just share their story and where they're going.
Very nice. And definitely feel free to drop that in the comments, that link, because so many amazing guests that you've had on that podcast, A Warrior Spirit. And I just going to be honest with you, I love what you call it, because there is something magical about having that warrior spirit that just will not give up, that will not quit, that will not stop. And we all know that you don't get there easily.
No. And every warrior has their scars, right?
Yes, absolutely. So Daryl, my dear friend, this has been amazing. You are a gold sponsor of ours this year. So I first want to say thank you so much for your support and helping to make this 3rd annual Streamathon just the success that it is already. We are already impacting lives and sharing amazing nuggets of wisdom, hope, and love around the world. And I just love you, my dear friend.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of what you're doing, and you're one of the special ones out there. So thank you for your giving heart and the hope that you're bringing to the rest of us.
Thank you.